Rent stability is my proposal that, for California, once a lease is signed, the tenant would be permitted to live in and rent that home for as long as the tenant can continue to pay the rent at the agreed upon price. No annual renewals and no price increases. A fixed price, indefinite lease. My war on rent increases and tenancy termination has begun. However, the lease is not for sale and there's no transference to friends or family members. If the house is sold, it still comes with the tenants and the pre-existing lease agreement. I still want to support the landlord and offer a way out so the renter can agree to a buyout where the landlord pays the renter a mutually agreed upon and negotiated lump sum price to end the lease voluntarily, kind of like in pro sports where a player and a team agree to a buyout. The landlord may then rent the vacant unit to a new tenant at current market price, i.e. as high a price as he or she can get. This structure rewards our Americans who have stability and removes a solvable contributor to homelessness, which is tenancy termination. Homelessness caused by tenancy termination is morally wrong, and ending tenancy termination is a part of my plan to end homelessness in California. Rent stability balances market forces between mandatory rent expenses and discretionary capitalist expenses. The lease agreement continues until the home is destroyed, the signing tenant has passed away, a buyout occurs, or the signing tenant voluntarily ends the lease and moves out. Why, after 1 year of use, does the value of a car go down and the value of a home go up? How can a landlord charge more in rent for a renewal when your home has suffered more wear and tear and is objectively worse than when you first rented it? Shouldn't homes and cars be the same? And why is rent such a big chunk of someone's monthly earnings now? The origin of many problems in the housing market is the application of America's capitalist business mentality to domestic housing. Capitalism is great, but I don't think that we should apply our laser beam of professional American capitalism in the capital markets to domestic housing any more than we should charge more money for water because everybody has to drink water. I don't think parents should charge their newborn baby rent each month. Technically, the baby is getting free rent, right? With a fixed rent, a stable rent, the relative cost of rent would decrease a little bit each year as inflation and earnings and wages increase. The quality of your apartment drops a little bit each year that you live there just because of wear and tear, and the relative rent would do the same, just like the value of your car. Recently, I finished 2 Pulitzer Prize-winning books focused on rent here in America. Evicted, which won the Pulitzer in 2017, and Invisible Child, which won the Pulitzer in 2022. There's a lot to think about in both of these books. Neither one of them is perfect, and neither one proposes many solutions, but that's what I have here. Rent stability would help out a lot of people, especially people in this book, in a meaningful way. So if you're interested in learning more about the extremes of our renting market here in America, check those books out. There are 4 economic classes in California right now. That's kind of how I think about it, at least for rent. The first class is the tax-paying class, who pay taxes on the property where they live and sleep. The second class is the mortgage-paying class, who have a monthly mortgage payment and pay taxes on the property where they live and sleep. The third class, which I'm a part of, is the renting class, which pays rent every month on where they live and sleep. And then the fourth class is the unhoused class, who sleep outside and do not pay taxes, mortgage, or rent on where they live and sleep. And we should not, as a society and a government, abuse the need to sleep, the need to have a home, a place to store your possessions, by consistently raising the rents as high as the market will bear on California's restricted housing supply. It's not a fair fight. Unlike in the post-World War II housing boom, we can't just build thousands of new units a year, seemingly without limit, and so we can't go on raising the rent on our renting population, seemingly without limit either. So here's this table. This table shows what the different parts of the economy desire when it comes to home value, housing supply, rental prices, and property taxes. So the resident homeowner, the resident landlord, and the non-resident landlord and the business landlord all want home values to go up, they want the housing supply to go down, and rental prices to go up. Everybody wants property taxes to go down, of course. But it's really only the renter in the renting class that wants home values to go down, the housing supply to go up, and rental prices to go down. Business landlords, which is a business that owns domestic housing, puts more money into the market as a whole, driving up home value and decreasing the available housing supply, and critically driving up rental prices. Real estate investment trusts and business landlords lobby against new housing developments. More housing is against their financial interests. I don't blame them for being against it, but I do propose a solution to change that. As the proposal for rent stability spreads and more people consider it, the intensity with which business landlords and real estate investment trusts oppose rent stability is going to be equal to the intensity of the rent increases they are planning to impose. So I'll acknowledge that for landlords, rent stability is a negative. It's a decrease in the power of the relationship and the future earnings of the asset as a whole. This isn't necessarily to do something just to help out renters or to go after property owners, but because we want to reward stability, and a person who can keep paying the rent is a foundational part of our society and deserves to be respected and rewarded. Sometimes it seems like everyone is going crazy in America these days. It just seems like no one has confidence in their long-term security. And to a certain extent, that's true. If you're renting, you don't have long-term security. You really only have security for as long as your next lease goes, which is typically about 12 months. Rent stability would give many millions of Americans some of the benefits of property ownership and the confidence and stability that goes with it. So landlords, even with rent stability, they would still receive the increase in value of the property every year, the equity in it, plus the rent. They just don't receive the rent increases. And real estate investment companies who own homes and profit from their equity growth and the rent above taxes and mortgage are a plague on our society. This is a thought experiment. I live in Scotts Valley. There's about 11,000 people here and maybe about 3,000 or 4,000 homes. If all of Scotts Valley were governed, not by America, but by the sovereignty of Saudi Arabia, what would happen to the home value here? It would drop dramatically. There's no free speech, there's no freedom of religion, no Second Amendment. A portion of the equity in everybody's home is not because of the home or what the renters or landlords are doing, but because of American values, American laws, culture, American sovereignty. Our homes are not just protected by the lock on the front door and the back door, but by our government and culture. Another portion of home value represents the net present value of the anticipated future earnings, not just from rent, but from the rent increases. So if you're renting right now and a business owns your home or your apartment building, they already are planning on raising what their average rent raise is going to be for next year and 2 years from now and 5 years from now. And so the value of the property right now represents their planned increases as well. Right now, the landlord is trying to get as much rent as he or she can each year, and the renter is trying to get as good and nice of a home as possible for the lowest cost. And this battle occurs on an annual basis. With the rent stability, it will occur a little bit less often, and it will be a source of stability for our whole country.